Fairly windless day, although not quite true, because there is a little bit of wind twitching the grass around, and as you can see from the smoke from that bonfire over there, there is a wind blowing across the field. I don't think there's enough for a kite. I may just try a kite just to see what it does, but I'm really interested in putting up some aerostats. I'm just putting up an aerostat just to see what is happening. There is a little bit of wind up there, and I think, looking at the way the aerostat is behaving, I think I'm going to try this doublet, because it will need a little bit of lift from the wind, and I think it's about the right conditions to try this 264 foot topped doublet held up by 3 aerostats. That's what I'm going to try. Now, the wire I'm going to use for this 264 foot doublet is fishing wire, pipe fishing trace, about 20-pound breaking strain, very very thin, plastic covered, and by way of an experiment I'm actually going to use 2 pieces of wire side by side as the feeder. I don't know whether it's going to work, but we're sure going to find out. That's it, I've got the aerial pegged out. You can see from the fact that the centre of the aerial is roughly where the balloon is, where the car is. It's going to be quite some beast if I can get this in the air. Even I will be impressed with this one. Right, that's one end done. It's quite obvious to me there's quite a lot of weight in that aerial. So let's go and see what happens with the other one. But there is some wind giving it some lift, so we may get away with it. We'll go and find out by doing the other end. Okay, so far so good. This is the other end out, and it looks as though it's beginning to take shape. I think when we get an aerostat in the middle, we could well be in business by the look of it. Okay, there is the central aerostat. I hope we can just see the feed point in the middle of the doublet there, which I would think is probably 60 or 70 feet above the ground. So all it remains to do now is to find out whether my weird feeder is going to work. So here we go. So balun on the bottom of the feeder. I'll go and get some coax, bring the car over, and see if we're going to get any sense out of this aerial. So my faithful little T-match with the earth resistor for static, and of course the earth stake with the T-match down to earth. Connected up the balun with the coax feeder from the balun, and let's go and see if the aerial is going to match on 80 metres. We'll try for a start. Okay, that's our doublet attached, and let's give it a whiff of RF and see if we're going to get oh yeah, very easily, very good as well. Quite a low SWR, yeah, good match on that. Very good, excellent. Right, we'll give it a try and see what happens. Well, what did happen was that the aerial didn't work very well, either on receive or on transmit. Very low signals, and I think the problem was the fact that the 2 feeder wires like this had got this plastic coating on, which was very poor insulation. And it just seemed to interfere with the feeding of the aerial. In fact, what I ended up with, not a 264 foot doublet, but a 70 foot vertical T-topped aerial. So what I need to do is to remove the feeder and put on a proper 75 ohm feeder, as I've done here, and connect it directly to the aerial leg each side. Now I feel sure that this will be a completely different animal when I next put it up in the air. Just using a small conion to get a feel for the wind and the direction. Looks as though that's a suitable sort of kite for this wind. Yeah. I need a sticked kite, I think, because the wind is a little bit static, a bit erratic, and I need something that's going to keep its shape even when the wind drops off a little bit. So that's it. I shall use 3 small kites to hold up the doublet. Here is the doublet with its modified feeder, and I shall lay it out across the wind, 90 degrees to the wind direction, and peg it out so that I can put kites on it and get it into the air. I might just try one on each end for a start, because there's quite a breeze up there, and I might be able to hold it up with just one on each end, although I suspect I might want one in the middle as well, but we'll see when I've got it laid out. Right, as usual, got the balun on the bottom first, connected up to the matching unit, which is earthed before I try and lift the aerial into the air, so that I don't get a belt off the static, which can build up in this wind. As you may be able to see from the angle of the flying line, got it splayed out so that it's putting some tension on the line, which is pegged the other end at the moment. So I should go down the other end and put a kite on and splay the flying line out as well. Right, that's the other end. So I don't need anything in the middle, because that aerial is really well stretched out. You may even be able to see the way the line's at an angle pulling on the aerial to keep it stretched. So yeah, that's high enough, and we'll see what it does. Well, I decided, because the centre was lifting up and down quite a bit, that it did need a kite in the middle. So I've got one in the middle. She's up now, maybe the centre is up maybe 60 feet or so, which is what I'll settle for, and we'll try it from there. Right, just looking at the matching of it. Yeah, it's not bad. There again, that aerial that I had that funny feeder on also looked good. So, proof of the pudding, I'm afraid. There we are. That's the 160 metre, the 264 foot doublet, which is running on 3 kites, which you can see working very well. It's very quiet on receive, which is surprising. It's only 60 feet up, which may account for it being fairly quiet. So a little later on I might try it on 160 if I can ever find anybody on there, see what it's doing. So yeah, that's nothing wrong with that aerial at all. It was the feeder before which I completely messed up, which is obviously now working properly.